If you just do these 5 steps right, you'll become a highly skilled music creator and achieve goals the people around you don't even think are possible. Do you want to waste thousands of hours and end up broke and frustrated? Or do you want to learn music production the right way and achieve your dreams and goals as fast and as efficiently as possible? 5 years ago, I started producing, and after graduating from music school and years working in recording studios and freelancing and doing all these things, I realized a lot of my time learning music production was wasted, and it was because I didn't have an effective roadmap. Well, today I'm going to go over how I would learn music production if I started from scratch today. Instead of wasting years in music school, this is the framework I wish I had 5 years ago. I've created a full detailed blueprint that gives you what you need to know without any fluff, and it's called the Modern Music Creator Academy. And I've taught this system to over 100 students in the last few years. So you can join that so you don't have to waste thousands of hours scouring the internet for production tutorials. And I made that course for the same reason I'm making this video. So there are 5 levels to this framework. Whatever point you're at in your journey, I'm sure you can find some value in this. Before we go on, it's important to note that even if you feel like you're leagues above these beginner steps, there's always something more you can learn within each of these modules. If you feel like you're super advanced, instead of just learning the basics of the industry or the basics about music software, dive deeper into your DAW and learn all the shortcuts. Or you could dive deeper into learning music business or marketing. With all these steps, there's always an extra layer deeper that you can learn. Level 1 is to start and commit. In the beginning, the hardest part is just starting. It can seem super daunting when you come into the music production space because it could seem like there's a million things to learn before you even start making music. Especially if you got other responsibilities, maybe you don't even believe it's possible for you to go full time in this. But just by starting, you've already surpassed 50% of people that have thought about making music but never do. So just by starting, you've made the most important step in your entire music production career. Now to start, all you really need is a laptop and a DAW. Once you do that, you want to learn your DAW enough and try to just create 3 songs, whether they're good or bad, and upload them somewhere. It could be to wherever you want. By just making a few songs and putting them out somewhere, you're overcoming 3 huge roadblocks. Number 1 is the pressure to make good music. So when you're learning, obviously it's a skill. For whatever reason, people don't see music as a skill. They just see it as, oh, you either make good music or you don't. If you were to go to college for engineering, you need time to build that skill and learn. Number 2 is the anxiety around releasing music. I've seen this all the time where people, they make music for years and they never release anything. And what happens is, if you don't release music, you're not going to build a career. Or if nobody even knows that you produce music, you're not going to be able to get clients or go full time. And I understand that feeling of, well, this isn't exactly what I wanted it to be, or it's not super high quality. But the thing is, your first few songs aren't going to get a lot of listens anyways. And the cool part is, after you've made those first few songs, years down the line, when you've become extremely pro, releasing high quality radio ready music and people are listening to your stuff, you can go back to that first song and say, wow, I've gotten so much better. And the third thing is, you'll figure out what you actually need to learn. There are a lot of different production styles. Some people enjoy beat making, where they just sit there on the laptop. Other people enjoy writing a song on a piano and recording it. Other people might like electronic styles, where there's less songwriting and more sampling. So just by making a few songs, you're going to figure out what area do I really want to work on and learn the most. And I'll keep going through all these steps and making more videos and more tutorials on this, so make sure you subscribe. And the second part to this is commit. Now this is even harder than starting, because at the end of the day, you're not guaranteed anything. Committing now to keep going, no matter what happens, sounds a lot easier than it is. But your journey will move a lot faster and it'll be a lot more fun if you just work really hard in 2 years learning everything you can, whereas if you go off and on and off and on over the course of 5 or 10 years when you could have already built the right skills. Also, when you decide to commit now, you can start thinking about evaluating whether it's actually worth it. You gotta think about what it actually takes to get there. So yeah, you might want millions of listeners and millions of views, but is it really worth it to you to make music every day, make YouTube videos every day? Or is this something you want to see more as a hobby? And you can make that decision now. Now maybe you do commit now, you go through the journey and you realize how much extra stuff it takes outside of music. So maybe you straight up just want to make music and you don't want to have to deal with business and stuff like that. There's routes for that as well. And if you truly want to learn about these things, make sure you hit that like button so I know this is the kind of video you guys want to see more of. Level 2 is to learn enough. One trap I'm sure we've all gotten into before, it's constantly learning but not applying anything. So I can watch thousands of hours of music production tutorials. If I don't make music, I'm not applying any of it and it's just entertainment at that point. So of course you can just get the Modern Music Creator Academy and that'll get you step by step everything you needed to know. But how I did it was just looking at production tutorials as I was making music. So if I'm making music and I'm like, I need to record, look up how to record. If I want to make the volume fade out, then I'll look up a tutorial and learn about volume automation. So you kind of learn as you go in the beginning. That way you don't get overwhelmed with everything there is to know. If you haven't even opened a DAW yet or recorded anything, there's no point in stressing about EQ or compression yet. So take it one step at a time. Now, steps I go in specifically to learn music production would be one, to get a good roadmap of what that career would look like and what that journey would look like. So without doing some research, a lot of people actually don't really understand how musicians make money. To a lot of people, a music producer is just Metro Boomin, someone that releases music, gets royalties, and gets producer cuts. And a lot of people actually don't want to go down that path. So learning about the industry as a whole will allow you to figure out what you need to learn specifically. Then I would look into music software. Specifically learn which DAW is best for you. So every DAW works. You got FL Studio, which is the most popular on the internet. Super versatile, super easy to use. My personal favorite. This is generally for people, beat makers, people that start in their DAW and just are mainly producers. Then you have Ableton Live, which just as it sounds, you're less into the production and you play an instrument, you just want to record it, or you're a DJ or something like that. Then you have Pro Tools, which is the industry standard. That one is a lot more complicated to learn, but it can be helpful to learn if you want to work in studios and things like that. But it is also the most expensive. So those are the top three I'd go with. Of course, there's Logic, there's Cubase, there's all these other kinds. But in the beginning, to just keep it simple, I'll just straight up go with one of those three. Number two is to learn about music and production technology. So figure out what tools you're going to be using, the mics you're going to be using to record, instruments you have. Think about getting a hard drive because music production takes up a lot of storage space. Just start to research what kind of equipment you might need. And you don't have to buy it all now. You don't need $1 million studio just to start making music. But the more you know, the more you can plan out what gear you actually need and what gear you don't. Number three is your production foundation. Now this is probably where you're going to spend the most time because there's so much to learn. Basic music theory. So when you open up the piano roll, you understand what notes are, rhythm, chords. You don't have to go super advanced, but that basic music theory will serve as a foundation to making music. Then learning songwriting and musicianship, maybe learning an instrument, that's going to make production so much easier because you can just write a song on the piano, record it, and you're good. In Module 2, you want to learn how to set up a home studio so you can actually understand what you need and what you don't. So for example, the room I'm in right now isn't the absolute best for production quality right off the bat. But because I know how to set up a home studio and I know how to produce well, I can actually overcome those obstacles. Instead of spending $1 million, I have the skills to turn a recording here and counteract all the things that I don't have. Then Module 4, we want to start learning audio engineering. So this is going to be the super detailed music production things. So you've wrote a song, you've recorded it, you've produced it. Now it's time to really make it high quality. So you can start with key production techniques like EQ, compression, gain staging. You can learn the basic steps to mix and to master. In the beginning, just learn what mixing and mastering is. Some people think mastering is just throwing a few plugins on the master bus and you're good. So really dive deep into what these terms mean and what you need to do. And again, if you feel like you're a pro, you're watching this video and you're like, man, I'm way past that. What are you talking about EQ and compression? Again, there's always more to learn. Instead of key production techniques, start learning some more niche production techniques. Dive deeper into reverb and delay instead of just throwing on OTT on everything. Start diving deeper into each of these concepts. Sound design, saturation. I mean, the list goes on and on. And that's the best part and the worst part about music production is there's always something to learn. But if you have this framework, even if you're 10 years into your journey, you can follow this framework and know exactly what you need to work on, and you can dive deeper into each of these things. And finally, Module 5 is music entrepreneurship. So even if you don't necessarily want to be an entrepreneur, learn the basics of how you can make money as a music producer. For whatever reason, it's a taboo topic, but at the end of the day, you have to eat. And if you truly committed at the beginning of this video, whether it's freelancing, whether it's working in a studio, all of it takes some understanding of the business itself. So once you've gone through all these steps and feel like you've learned enough, again, if you're a beginner, you don't have to dive super deep into all these. And if you're advanced, then you can go back and keep learning. Work smart. If you just master these three things, you'll achieve all your goals and reach where you want to go. Number one, obviously, is your music production skill. Number two is having quality music. And number three, the only way to make money is to solve a problem. Whether that's for a studio and having another audio engineer, whether that's for a client and making their song, whether it's teaching people what you've learned. At the end of the day, you have to solve a problem. So instead of getting super overwhelmed and not understanding what to do, you know you're either working on your skills, you're using those skills to make quality music, or you're focused on a specific problem you decide to solve. And number four is to pick a career path. While you were learning about this, you've probably already been thinking about it. But these same music production skills that you've learned now can be used for so many different things. But the problem is each path requires slightly different skill sets, and they take a lot of time to build. So if you want to be a freelancer and offer services yourself, now you've got to learn how to deal with clients and how to get clients. If you want to be an artist and release your music and maybe even perform or perform as a DJ, that's a completely different skill set. The sooner you figure out your path, the more focused your learning can become. and the smarter you're working. Level 5, the hardest part is consistency. You've probably heard it a million times, and while you're listening, it probably sounds like the easiest thing ever. But as a music creator, you already juggle so many different responsibilities. So as a creator, consistency doesn't just mean making music every day. It might also mean sticking to a path. A lot of times it can seem like there's a better opportunity over here, and so you stop making music and go work on that. But as a music creator, you already have so many responsibilities and roles that you play. The people that succeed, even if they do it in 2 years, they did it in 2 years because they focused on that. Instead of trying to be a DJ, a producer, an artist, a drop shipper. Of course, I don't even have to say it. You already know it's more smart to just focus on one of those things. And at the same time, you also have to understand music is a lot of fun, but it's not fun all the time. Especially if you're trying to make it a career, no job is fun all the time. There are going to be days where you don't feel like making music. There are going to be days where you doubt yourself or where you don't like your music. So set those expectations from the get-go and just stay consistent through it. Again, I go super in depth into all of these steps in the Music Creator Academy. So you avoid trying to figure out 20 different tutorials and getting frustrated that they're not the right ones. Now, I went through all the steps of what to learn, but it's going to be annoying watching 500 hours, 1,000 hours of music production tutorials and finding random channels. Go ahead and join that academy. Always updating it, always taking feedback, making sure it's in depth, but also just what you need to know so you're not wasting any time. Make sure you comment down below which step of the process you're in, or even what point is your weakest. And I've actually gone through these steps multiple times, each time learning more and more. If I was in the audio engineering phase, sure, the first time through I learned all the basics, I got pretty good, but the second time through I learned sound design, I learned all these other things that made me even better. So you can go through these multiple times. It doesn't have to be and then you're done. So even if you're super advanced, just leave a comment down below, or maybe what step interests you the most. Watch this video next, and I'll see you there.